we move to the future and we want to work more with physicians in our community, it's very cumbersome for us to do those things. So as a result, we began to approach the legislature and say, look, we have no problem competing. We will compete with anyone who comes to town. We will be the provider of choice, but we have to operate on an even playing field. We simply can't operate with one hand tied behind our back when we have regional competitors that are going to come in from the north, from the south, from other areas in the state of Florida, from other areas around the country that may come in here. So we asked for the ability to work regionally, and we were denied. The legislature would not act on our legislation to change that. And what they suggested is that why don't you consider converting to private not-for-profit or community-based not-for-profit, which would allow you more flexibility and the ability to compete. So they passed legislation that gave us the opportunity to simply evaluate whether that made sense. And they put it in the hands of our board of directors to say, okay, you need to do an evaluation to see whether this makes sense for you to change your structure. So that's where we are now. So that the legislature recognized this potential vulnerability and the importance that we play in this community, and gave us the opportunity to do this analysis. So as we began the process has been very prescriptive as it relates to what the state has allowed, and that included a 6-month evaluation by an independent third party. We hired a company called Kaufman Hall, which is a nationally known consulting firm, who came in and did the evaluation. Before we get to the results of the evaluation, let me talk a little bit about the two different structures that we're talking about. Our current structure as a public entity and the potential to convert to a community-focused nonprofit health system. So these are the similarities of those two structures. And again, it's important to note that what we're talking about is a governance structure. It's not really affecting how we operate every day and how our doctors work and how our nurses work. This will be pretty transparent to them and, of course, to patients as they access care in our organization. So first of all, our safety net mission will not change. We will be focused on and committed to our longstanding mission of taking care of every patient in Lee County, regardless of their ability to pay. Leadership and staff will always maintain a commitment to quality and provide every patient the best care possible. The fiduciary responsibility, the board will have a duty to care and ensure the organization's community-based focused mission, that it's always being met and it's in the best interest of the organization and the stakeholders, the patients, the physicians, and our team members. Our operating margin will work the same way. Every dollar that's made over and above our expenses will be reinvested in the community in either model. That will not change. There will be no shareholders or any other owners that would profit by a conversion like this. Charity care will continue. We will maintain a strong focus on committing to that mission of charity care. And as we are today, if conversion occurs, we will not have taxing authority. We don't have taxing authority now, we will not have that in the future. So what are the key differences? And probably the top of the list of differences relates to board leadership. Our board leaders now are publicly elected. We have 10 board members, 2 from each of the 5 districts in the county. Under a community-focused system, our current board leadership can continue to serve, but subsequent to that, the board will be self-sustaining the way nonprofit boards are. If you look at other hospitals, health systems, whether it's Tampa General, NCH, Orlando Health, many of the other hospitals in the state, they are not-for-profits and they have a self-sustaining board, which means the board will establish most likely some sort of governance committee, and they will seek talent in the community and ask them to serve on our board. If you look at governance, business practice governance, currently we're governed by the Lee Health Enabling Act, as I mentioned, which is the Florida law applicable to us. If we convert, we'll be governed by Florida law applicable to not-for-profit corporations, along with the enforceable agreement that will have to be negotiated with the county. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Growth and expansion, as I mentioned, we're limited now in our ability to grow outside of the county, so it's very difficult for us to have a regional impact. What we discovered in the Kaufman Hall report is that 1 out of our 5 patients actually come from outside the county. So if we were to convert to a community-focused system, we would be able to grow beyond Lee County and actually serve those patients better. We would be able to generate other sources of revenue that could support our safety net mission here in Lee County. One of the other big differences, if we were to convert, would be the loss of what's called sovereign immunity. So sovereign immunity limits negligence lawsuits against the health system. If we were to convert, we would lose that sovereign immunity, but we would cover that protection with added insurance. We carry insurance now for liability for limits over and above our sovereign immunity limits, and we would expand that to make sure that our staff, including our employed medical staff, would be held harmless and they would never experience any type of financial loss related to medical liability. So those are the differences that are obvious. So Kaufman Hall did the 6-month evaluation, and their report is as follows. Lee Health is expected to continue facing systemic, operational, strategic, political, and financial challenges, along with regional and local competitive pressures. To the extent Lee Health can realize the value of prospective strategic opportunities, increase its competitive position at a level that surpasses the near-term financial impact, and continue to effectively deliver on its mission, Kaufman Hall recommended that they continue with the process. And again, the process is ongoing. Michael Nachik will talk to you about where we are in the process, and there are still some things that we need to establish within this process to make sure that, in fact, yes, this does make sense and is in the best interest of the community. So what are our promises? Number one, we have to maintain and ensure a sustainable future for the system. We will always preserve our safety net status in Lee County for perpetuity, deliver on our community nonprofit mission for our region, but be able to compete fairly with new entrants and future changes. We want to pursue conversion opportunities that may exist. We may not do any of them in the early stages, but we want to have the ability to do that if it makes sense for us. Keeping safe, high-quality care is always at the center of what we do. The other thing we want to do is we want to be financially sustainable, so we will continue to not be a burden on our taxpayers. We've never levied a tax in this community, and we would anticipate that that would not happen in the future. We do not want to do that. We want to maintain our independence and our local control. Local control is critical. What we don't want to do is we don't want to see this health system be forced into a sale situation where we would sell to either a not-for-profit, national or regional hospital system, or even worse in my mind, a for-profit system. It's important that we commit to a transparent process, and you'll see how we've done that. There is a source of truth on our website that has every bit of information that we've worked on over this period of time. We want to expand access and services to meet patients where they are and where they need care. Improvement of quality care coordination and retention is critical. One of the things that I mentioned is difficult for us to do in our current structure is to partner in a material way with physicians, and we want to do more of that. We want to be able to do joint ventures on surgery centers and other things. We would like to do that even with our employed physicians, which we are prohibited from doing right now. And we know that the future of healthcare is really taking us to the outpatient world, and it's taking us to a place where we can align ourselves with our physician partners and drive higher quality and better access. So we've done a bunch of town halls. We've done 6 town halls. We did another a session like this one also, and we've gotten some feedback. And so I wanted to address some of the feedback that we've gotten. One of the things that I can't say clear enough is Lee Health is not for sale. I could tell you that if the board was contemplating a sale of Lee Health, I would oppose it, and I would oppose it with everything I have. I've been here in this community for more than 40 years. I've been on this medical staff for 40 years. And the independent nature of this health system is critical to me, and the local control is critical, and it should be critical to all of you. This evaluation is being done with full transparency. As I said, every bit of information is on our website. Our financial statements are on our website. They have been. Our balance sheet, everything is on our website. One of the things you'll hear out in the community, or the questions that's being asked, is why isn't a valuation being done of the health system? Well, the reason why a valuation is being done is because we're not selling. And the legislature was very specific that the law states that we are permitted to do an evaluation of whether conversion makes sense. No reason to do evaluation because nothing is being sold. We're going to be legally bound to provide safety net care, charity care in perpetuity based on the agreement that we're going to make with the county. And again, that would happen after the board votes, if they vote in the affirmative, to move to the next step, which would mean that that's where that negotiation would occur. There will be no shifting of liabilities to Lee County government or its residents. That's not part of the conversion. It will not happen. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we will not have taxing authority. We've never had taxing authority. So why does this make sense? And why has our leadership team recommended that we continue the process and take it to the next step? It can solidify our financial sustainability with no added burden to the taxpayers. We can maintain local control, which I said is very, very important. I'll say it again, Lee Health is not for sale. It would maintain our safety net status in perpetuity. We will be committed to that by the enforceable agreement with the county. And we'll be able to make strategic decisions in confidence. For those of you who may own a business, you can imagine what it's like to run a business with your competitor sitting at your table as you're trying to decide what your next strategic move is going to be or where you're going to put your next facility. It'll unleash our ability to expand access and services to meet patients where they are. As I said, we can become a regional presence and compete more effectively. And our ability to work with physicians in partnerships will improve quality care, coordination, and boost retention because of these relationships will be aligned. So the leadership team met and there was significant energy and enthusiasm about this possibility and how we could do the things that we're talking about. And our team is confident that we'll be able to navigate these changes. And we believe that conversion is a strategic move towards securing our future, our safety net mission, and maximizing our impact in the communities we serve. So with that, I'm going to pass the mic to Mike Najiff, our VP of Government Relations, who will explain the process and the timeline for you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Antonucci, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, board members, members of the public. Speaking of energy and enthusiasm, that's my nickname. It's great to be here with you all. I'm going to walk you through just briefly. He takes all the good parts in this, so I'm just going to explain the process and timeline. So in the enabling legislation, what was created was a very specified process that takes at maximum roughly 420 days to complete. So on August 31st of 2023, the Board of Directors had voted to begin the evaluation process. And in that process, Kaufman Hall took roughly 6 months to complete the 180-day evaluation. And they returned that to the Board of Directors on February 15th of 2024. In that time, the enabling legislation had required that we hold one public hearing, and that public hearing was held on January 25th, 2024. We're now in phase 2, or the discernment phase. So now that the evaluation has been returned, you heard Dr. Antonucci make a recommendation on behalf of the leadership back to the Board of Directors and to the community. The Board of Directors is assessing that recommendation, and at the latest, by June 20th of this year, they are going to have to make a decision as to whether or not they're going to pursue the conversion and start phase 3, or end the process with no changes. If they do progress into phase 3 of the negotiation with Lee County, that would necessitate that a negotiation for the terms of an agreement with Lee County be completed. And that includes a mission agreement, a set of covenants, as Dr. Antonucci described earlier, for the process of the conversion to be complete. There would be final votes, a third and final vote by the Lee Health Board of Directors and a vote by the Lee County Board of County Commissioners. And that would occur by the latest by October 12th of 2024. As I noted, we had held the public hearing on January 25th, 2024. You also see, obviously, you're here today. You know we're holding a public hearing. And a second one that was not required by the enabling legislation, but our Board of Directors, in the spirit of transparency, wanted to continue this process and keep it open for receiving feedback. We also had a number of internal engagements that we did with our own physicians externally, We spoke with groups of physicians, including the folks at the Lee County Medical Society. We had team member engagement up and down, from leadership updates to the outreach team to staff town halls. You can see all the dates. Rather than list it out explicitly for you, what I'll say is this group has been very committed to making sure that we were disseminating the information and gathering as much input as we could, and we're continuing to do that. So we appreciate very much your participation in this process. And we want to make sure that you know that on the website that's been created, leehealth.org/lookingahead, you can see all of the official resources, all of the material that the Board of Directors has received, including the full Kaufman Hall report, the summary of that report, and any additional information that has gone to them in subsequent meetings is available on that website, and we encourage you to go and look at it. There's also a set of FAQs. We've answered more than 50 questions that have come in, so there's an opportunity to submit your questions and have them answered. Even after today, if you would like to have questions answered, please send them to us so that we can get them answered, and that's at lookingahead@leehealth.org. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is my cue to hand it over to the board's general counsel, Mr. Knott. Please take it away.
Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of today's meeting is to assist the board in making a very important decision. The decision as to whether or not conversion of Lee Health is in the best interest of the residents of Lee County. A question of great importance, and one that the Florida legislature has said the board needs to seek the input of the public about. And that is what brings us here today. This is a public hearing, and under the statute, we are required to take testimony from the members of the public regarding their thoughts on conversion. So I'm going to give you a few rules of the road that we're going to travel by. The first is that each speaker is going to be given 5 minutes to address the board, to provide the board with their insights. Ms. Fourier, the lady at the end, has paddles. She will be, she promises me she will not strike you too hard. But when you have gotten to the 1 minute mark, she will raise a yellow paddle, which indicates that you need to begin concluding your remarks. And then when you've exceeded your time, she will raise a red paddle, which indicates that your time is up. So with that said, we will start with the first speaker that we'll call, and there's a mic on the chair. In fact, hopefully it works. If it doesn't, we'll give you this one. We'll call Mike Martin Dr. Martin to the.
Number one, that's.
You were here early, Doctor.
Threatening thought. Well, thank you for the opportunity one more time to just share my view. I participated in this for two reasons. My wife and I have been very satisfied with the care we've gotten from Lee Health, and we want to make sure that others continue to get it. But also more fundamentally, I believe health care, okay, thank you, Chris. I believe that health care is a fundamental human right, and high quality, accessible health care should be available to everyone, no matter their state in life. And I believe at this time, at this stage of the economy and the realities and the politics of healthcare in this community, this isn't a policy decision, it's an existential decision. I think if it isn't converted, Lee Health is going to be under enormous pressure long term, as we have seen in many other urban communities, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Chicago, New York. My son worked in a hospital in Manhattan for 9 years that closed because they did not change with the times. And that's happened repeatedly. And across this country, we're seeing the shift that's already was noted in competition and in costs and in reimbursement and in public policy that's making it extremely difficult for really high quality care to be provided. And I believe that unless conversion occurs, continuing the kind of care Lee Health has been, particularly as a safety net, is going to be almost impossible. The economies of size and scope in healthcare have gotten enormous. And if you don't believe that, look what's happened with Mayo and Cleveland Clinic, understanding that they can be more efficient and effective if they have the capacity to grow their base and therefore serve those who may not be insured or underinsured. And that's happened repeatedly. And I believe the geographic constraints on Lee Health are really significant and a significant constraint long-term. So I'll simply close by saying this. A safety net full of holes is no safety net at all. And I believe this is the time to make sure that safety net's intact long-term. And I don't believe the current model can work. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ms. Smith.
Hello, my name is Lindy Smith. I'm just a citizen here. And I live in North Fort Myers, and I work in Cape Coral, and I drove all the way over here because I'm passionate, fighting the traffic. I have been following the process and the timeline for quite some time. I was at the town hall meeting held at the downtown Fort Myers Library where I received information. And I have been seeing the rollout of the information come very smoothly from Lee Health System. It has been challenging though for me to explain this to people who have not attended town hall meetings or don't read what I happen to read to follow the process and timeline, which is slow going, but you're doing the due diligence. And so, Dr. Antonucci, as a mini marketing machine and board president, Ms. Clark, I'd like to say that your key similarities slide spoke to me. And I think that I'd like to have them printed out on cards that people like me who believe in the conversion can use as a conversation point with people. Because I have been challenged so far by individuals I know who say that they don't want the conversion to happen, yet they don't have facts. And I'm the factoid machine. I would like to be able to hand them a card, or at least be able to talk intelligently with those bullet points. So thank you for the key similarity slide. Thank you for all the work that everybody is doing to make this conversion happen. I really believe in it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Hoyman.
Thank you. I'm Michael Hoyman. I moved here from Cleveland 31 years ago. My first comment about the tax thing has already been answered, but I do want to note that toward the end of my career, I was the chief financial officer of a small hospital in the east side of Cleveland, that you're talking about the closing, that was next door, believe it or not, to the outpatient building of the Cleveland Clinic. As you can imagine, that hospital was no longer there. It was bought by the Cleveland Clinic, and I'm not sure what it's used for. So what I'm saying is the competition of other hospitals is obviously very important, and I must note that I think that your mind has been made up, but anyway, I want to thank you for putting us and telling us everything that's going on. So thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Philp.
I don't want to get you a table somewhere. Pop out there. First off, I want to recognize Dr. Antonucci and his leadership of Lee Health and having the stamina to investigate this for the long-term security of our community here. haven't been here 40 years, but I've been here 20, so we'll call that half. And I'm very proud that both of my children were born at Lee Health down at the Children's Hospital before it was the Golisano Children's Hospital. And Lee Health is just a gem here in our community. And I think as the largest employer in Lee County as well, us specifically, I'm the Dean of the College of Health at Florida Gulf Coast University, and we've had a phenomenal partnership for many years. And they're our largest clinical partner as we provide our students for placement and for ongoing training of the healthcare that's needed here in Southwest Florida and beyond. So I have full confidence in the conversion, and I appreciate the board examining this, and specifically, once again, Dr. Antonucci's examination of this for many of the reasons that was said so elegantly on the PowerPoint and from the other public speakers. We must continue that safety net coverage of care for our community. And this allows for Lee Health to become on an equal ground with other entities. Dr. Martin talked about many of the urban areas that have struggled when they have not done the conversion. Researching this, there was a couple in North Carolina, Asheville, North Carolina. You might want to examine that to see what challenges occur if you don't do conversion appropriately. So I am fully behind this. I support this. And Dr. Antonucci, thanks for your ongoing leadership and for all that you do for our community here to make this the best place for anyone to come and live. Thank you, Dr. Antonucci.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Rich.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Maria Richter. I am from Hendry County. I had 2 of my children at Health Park Medical Center, and my husband is a frequent visitor at Cape Coral Hospital. We are both veterans, and it has been very appreciated that the community care between the VA and Lee Health. I also wanted to mention something nobody else has mentioned here, and I think it's awesome, and you guys need to do more promoting of the fact that you are a baby-friendly hospital since 2018. This is awesome. So from Hendry County, if you don't all know, we are a maternity desert. And I don't know if you all know about the tug of war with Hendry and Glades counties between Lee County and Palm Beach County. So I'm going to share that with you because Palm Beach County does not have the reach to assist us in the middle of the state. They closed the maternity hospital at Lakeside Medical Center 2 years ago. And Palm Beach County has no intention of coming back and pushing into eastern Hendry County and Glades County. But this is, for Lee Health, a huge opportunity. You have 1 midwife that comes once a week. We have no OBGYNs that deliver babies that come and visit Hendry County. We need your help. We need it badly. And when I heard that you guys were going nonprofit and that this would help for you to expand, I wanted to come and say something about this because this is hugely important. I don't even know if I'm the only one here from Hendry County and Glades County, but this is really important. I've been speaking up and it doesn't sound like anybody's listening. So I hope that people here are listening, and I hope that in the future there's going to be solutions, including maybe another hospital closer to the middle of the state. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you. Dr. Portnoy.
Hi, Ray Portnoy. I've been aware of the conversion after it was announced at a meeting that I attended because I came for my own personal reasons. And since then, I've been following this very carefully. I'm an internist in town. I've been in various forms of employment, including a hospital employee at one point, not this hospital, but a different one that they bought later. I feel like I'm probably the most independent voice from the physician standpoint for the community. I also have privileges at all 3 locations here at in Fort Myers. Patients know me. I've been practicing since '93. I'm going to rain on everybody's parade a little bit because I want to point out several things that were stated here in transparency, one of which is that there's to yet be a covenant. We're told it's going to happen, but we don't know what it is. So how do we know this is a great idea? We don't know anything. We still don't know. We don't know. How does this work? Well, the state enabled this charter 50 years ago. The state's involved because this is a special district sanctioned by the state. It's been passed down to local government because it was looked at from the state level, and Governor DeSantis said, well, we're not making that decision as a state decision. It has to be something for the county. I don't think people know these things. I've asked several questions. Usually it's in this format where we can't have answers from everybody. So in other words, it's just a feedback situation. So with that, I sent out a petition that is a request for a full audit of Lee Health's assets. Dr. Antonucci alluded to that as he walked into the room because he's aware of the petition. The reason I'm saying this is our property, technically. This is government. This is public. This is our stuff. And we're being asked to transfer all our assets, which we don't know what they are. We're being asked to transfer them to this group. They're not going to be here forever. We're all getting older. What's going to happen? Where's the covenant? How do you guys even know what agreement you have? You don't have an agreement because you and the commission haven't talked yet. Or if you have, it hasn't been public. So with that, I'm saying I highly question this decision. I don't think the board has been told what's in the interest of this administration and the hospital, but that's not necessarily what's in the interest of the community. When you have a monopoly, which Lee is, as a hospital system, you don't get price benefit. You don't get competition. My partner, who's seeing patients right now for us, couldn't come, but he was trying to. I will tell you what he said to me. He said, I am trying to get more cost-effective care for my patients. We're in private practice. We have people that are having to pay cash for their services because their insurance doesn't work very well. So I'm in favor of more competition. I'm in favor of a free market. I'm not in favor of more government control of our healthcare system. And although healthcare is not a fundamental right, I disagree with the gentleman who first talked. Healthcare is a service. And your physicians are not conscripted to take care of you. I'm a little off topic, but the point is, Lee says in their own financial report that the foundation's business accounting is not part of the analysis of Lee's public documents. Says it right in the report. So with that said, I said, well, wow, we need to know more about what they own. What do they own? It's our stuff. What kind of companies, who are they doing business with? And are we just going to surrender all that? We don't even know what it is. So I think the board is owed a true analysis, a sober look at what all the assets are. And then my point is, maybe it's in the community's best interest to not grow. Maybe we want to just maintain the covenant we have, which has been here for 50 years and working. And by the way, charity does not only occur in a public institution. Charity is something we do all the time. All of us do as citizens. And we used to do charity before Lee was the only show in town as a shared commitment by all the physicians. I know this because I was in the bylaws. I was there. I was one who volunteered my time. We had a call rotation. You didn't have to be affiliated with Lee or get government money to do that. You did it because it was the right thing to do. And we can go right back to that. On that note, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we would call Mr. Franklin.
He passes.
The next speaker would be Mr. Groover.
Thank you, Chris. First of all, I'd like to compliment Dr. Antonucci and the team, including Kaufman Hall and the lawyers. I think they've provided us with a very thoughtful analysis of a very tough decision. I was hoping Dr. Antonucci would include in his presentation today a quote he used in a public board meeting earlier this month, which was from an Italian novelist that was, in 12 words, perfectly summarized the situation in which Lee finds itself today. Since he didn't, and since I don't remember it, I'll have to resort to my go-to knowledge base, which is American baseball. I'm looking at Mary. And I would summarize the situation facing Lee today as described by that legendary Hall of Fame pitcher, Satchel Paige. Satchel was known to say, "Don't look back, something might be gaining on you. That's where Lee is today, ladies and gentlemen. And that something is called competition. Continuing the sports metaphor, the playing field is not level. It's tilted today. It's tilted against Lee Health. And until we can restore a level playing field, Lee Health will not survive, simply stated. Following Satchel's advice to look forward and not backwards, I'd like to offer a few thoughts based on my experience on two not-for-profit boards, one of which was a public board like Lee is currently organized, and one of which was a private, community-based not-for-profit board such as Lee is contemplating. Geisinger Health System in Pennsylvania is about the same age as Lee, plus or minus 100 years, and it's been a private not-for-profit for its whole existence. Like Lee, it's also a safety net hospital, and it has been for its whole existence. So the safety net aspect, it does not change from going public to going private. And I've seen it work in action. The misunderstanding of the word private not-for-profit is dangerous. When we citizens hear private, we think of Wall Street and private equity, and by the way, I work there, so I know what it is, where profits are the goal of the healthcare system to make a return for the shareholders or limited partners. That is not the case in a private not-for-profit. It was not the case at Geisinger, and it won't be the case in Lee, were they to convert to a private not-for-profit. The goal in a private not-for-profit is not to lose money, to earn a little bit so that you can reinvest those proceeds in programs and services that benefit the local community. My second observation for the board today addresses questions I've heard, some just in this room today, about why change from a public to a private? What can we do as a private that we can't do today as a public? Dr. Antonucci talked about some of them, but I'd like to get a little further into the weeds and give you some examples based on my experience on one public and one private not-for-profit board. The contrast, oh my goodness, the contrast in those two boards was startling. In the public board, we had trouble even making a budget because of all of our planning meetings were public and the competitors were sitting in the room. We, on the public board, were hostages to government funding. And we were hostages to capricious state and federal agencies who could withhold our funding depending on the political winds. I agree with the good doctor. I'm a capitalist. I want to get out of the government-owned and run business. At Geisinger, we had to float our own boat, and we were able to do efficiently and effectively because we could have our planning meetings in confidence, not in a public setting. Lastly, and I won't go over it, Katie. In addition to the geographic flexibility, there are other advantages to going private. One of them is that at Geisinger, we became a very attractive partner for commercial enterprises. That would have been impossible for our physicians to collaborate with companies like Regeneron were it not for our private status. Regeneron was too protective of its private information, of its proprietary information to be subject to sunshine laws. Lastly, I know there's concern about, and I've heard it from some of my own physicians, about the loss of sovereign immunity. Sovereign immunity to me in this situation is a red herring. The public not-for-profit board on whom I served, we had sovereign immunity and we couldn't recruit or retain talent worth a damn. At Geisinger, we had no sovereign immunity. We had a great insurance program such as Dr. Antonucci anticipates, And we recruited physicians and administrators from across the country from the world's best healthcare systems. So please, I ask the board, follow Satchel's advice. Don't look back, look forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Groover has pushed the envelope, so we want to afford anyone else an opportunity, if they want additional time to comment. We invite them to come forward to give additional comments. If they're satisfied with the amount of time that they've had, that's fine. But everyone has an opportunity to have an equal amount of time. But I would invite any other community members that have taken the time out of their day to come here today to address the board, the public board, to allow them to understand what your thoughts are. Is there anyone else who would like to address the public board today? Please provide your name.
Yes, sir. My name is Joshua Krakow. I'm the chair of the Lee County Libertarian Party and also the candidate for District 77 State House. Pardon me for kind of coming late to you guys' proceedings and my ignorance to everything that you guys have been going through. But as a Libertarian, I would like to point out a situation in Sarasota County during 2020. Libertarian on the hospital board, an elected position, stopped Sarasota County from having a mask mandate. I'm curious how that will be impacted from the board being a private entity to, in the future, how that will be voiced in the future. And then also, I do agree with the doctor that spoke prior. I think that we should have a transparency of the financials, as unfortunately due to the support of Lee County and the state creating ultimately a monopoly for many years, building Lee County or Lee Health up. I personally was born in the Lee system, so I understand how beneficial the government has been for the for Lee Health, and I'm curious what the divorce proceedings will be like between the county and the hospital, because I don't believe that it is in the county's best interest or the state's best interest to just hand over the house and the house and the custody to the kids to the hospital board. So that's all I'd like to say. I appreciate you guys' time.
Thank you so much. Does anyone else care to make a statement? And please state your name for the record.
My voice is loud enough, I probably don't need a microphone. Hi guys, I'm Amy Fritchie. I am born and raised. Can you hear me?
Can you say your name again, please?
Amy Fritchie.
If you could spell it for the stenographer.
Fritschie. I am born and raised at Lee Memorial Hospital, and I've been working at Cape Coral Hospital in the emergency department since 2006. I'm a nurse. Thank you guys for all being here. I've grown with this community and Lee Health before it became Lee Health, Cape Coral Hospital, and then we absorbed Health Park and Gulf Coast, and for profit, not for profit. We want to do it for the community, and we offer so many things. We offer, if you can't afford a procedure, we have discount programs, and we have volunteer services, and we have heart walks and things that have helped this community to where your grandma, your grandpa can get the procedures that they need done. Doctors help, and I don't want to see that go away. I don't want us to see the cheapest of the cheap supplies because we have a profit, not for profit, whoever it is. I just want, the grass is greener where you water it. It's not gonna be an easy transition if we do this, and it seems like we're on the way to I'm a go with the flow type of person, and I'm cautious. I agree with them where they should be more transparent, where the financials need to go, but I'm kind of for it. We wouldn't be where we were without the amount of growth that we've done and the hard work that we've come across, and that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the board? And please state your name for the, spell your name for the stenographers.
I believe you have a sheet.
Yes, they have my sheet. I backed out for a second, guys. All right, everyone. My name is Brian Franklin. I like to speak representing a population of Southwest Florida that's growing, that has been here through high school and through college. I married my wife. My wife is with you guys. Friends are employed. My babies were born in your hospitals. And when I think about the transition that you guys are about to approach, potentially, but it looks like it's happening to me, I believe a couple of things. It kind of leaves me torn. In one sense, I do agree with the brothers who spoke about the assets and things of that nature, but my biggest hang-up is actually how well the messaging of what you've been doing has gotten out to the community. And when I think about meetings like this, I had to have friends in the community who said, hey, I think Lee Health is doing this type of thing. When I think about the board meetings and everything you've done to get the messaging out, it was common knowledge to employees, it was a common knowledge to people who visit your website, but it wasn't common knowledge to most of us. And if you were opening up a new location, we would all hear about it. It'd be on the news, it'd be on social media. If it was a new building, God bless you. So one of my biggest concerns is looking at where we are now moving backward on how well changes and adjustments were made and how well we learned about them. Now that there's no more of that, there's no need to because it's private, how well will we get messaging out moving forward, right? Because I only know of this because of relationships I have. I promise you, if you walk out there and go down Metro Parkway or any neighborhood, knock on the door, do you know what Lee Health is doing? They wouldn't know. And you guys have some of the biggest impacts to our lives outside of the government. When it comes to not just our health care, but being the largest employer, anything you do would affect us in so many ways. Now afterwards, when you potentially, it looks like become, private, I'm still rocking with you guys, but I'm only rocking with you guys because I look at it like this is the best interest to my family. If that's no longer the case, then that's where my loyalty stops at because I have a family to raise. At the moment, you've helped so many people in my life, even my customers. The funny thing is I'm an insurance agent. I don't even know why I'm here. But I find myself here because I'm curious about how when I talk to my clients, okay, this is what's happening, this is what the hospital's doing, this is how it affects you. So those are my thoughts in general. I pray and hope that the people on this board take overextend themselves when it comes to not just saying that we're transparent, but showing that they're transparent by getting it out purposeful and intentional. Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to? Here we've got another speaker over here.
Getting my steps in today.
Can you please state your
Steve Zielinski, Z-I-E-L-I-N-S-K-I. I'm a transplant from the Chicago area. I've been down here for 4 years. I'm a patient here at Lee Health. I got to tell you one thing, I was so impressed when I came down here. I'm a pharmacist by vocation. I've been working in the safety net environment for the last 30 years, specifically around what's referred to as the 340B drug discount program. And I've covered the United States for the last 20 years in typically the largest healthcare systems in the United States as a consultant. I've been so impressed with Lee Health since the moment I got here that this is unbelievable. Where you're moving from a government to a, let's say, a private, not-for-profit, unbelievable. That's the right thing to do. You're going to serve the community so much, let's say, better. But to be able to do this, I came here wondering what you're going to do better than what you have, and this is really going to be impressive. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other individuals who'd like to address the board?
Hi, excuse me. Hi, I'm Al Rogala, former manager of finance for a big company.
Can you please spell your last name for the record?
Would you like me to write it, George? I know. R-O-G-A-L-A.
Thank you.
George complained about my writing at the last meeting, that's why I didn't mention that. I've been to every board meeting since August. I've been to every financial meeting since August. I've been to several of the conversion meetings since August, or maybe, they may have started in November, somewhere around there. I spoke at the last public meeting. I was very undecided about which way this board should go, what the hospital should do as far as conversion goes. I had questions about the people losing their voice. I had questions about the funds diluting Lee County's share. However, since that time, Lee Health, I've learned that Lee Health has been a very profitable entity over the years. They excel at execution. They added 3 floors to this hospital. They're involved with building an ambulatory service center for Health Park. They have built several outpatient centers. The one I'm familiar with is Surfside and Cape Coral. It is phenomenal. The facility in the waiting room is immense compared to the room that I used to sit in at one of their competitors. It held about 12, 14 people. It was the size of a small bedroom. And if you went there early in the morning because you were sick, you were in that room with other people hacking, coughing, blowing their nose. Lee Health has done everything right. And as of this minute, I would urge the board to vote for conversion. You've done an excellent job. You've kept up with the community needs. And whether they're public nonprofit or private nonprofit, it is going to come down to execution. And they excel at it. And again, vote for the conversion. I think it's in the best interest of this community. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Right here, sir.
Good evening. I'm Pastor William Glover of Mount River Church in Fort Myers. I wasn't going to say anything. This is my 4th meeting. I learned something every time. I'm also here with Dr. Ricky Anderson, and I mention him because we are members of a newly formed clergy alliance that represents 16 congregations in Central Fort Myers, East Fort Myers, and North Fort Myers. People who would be described as being a part of the underserved community, whose major concerns would be the maintaining of the safety net and also representation on the new private board, making certain that there's some representation there. When we approached Dr. Antonucci and his team about the fact that very few in our community knew anything about this process, and the town meeting that was scheduled back in January, there was no representation there from our community, they agreed to attend what we called a symposium, where we turned out people from our community and give this presentation that they gave today. We had almost 300 community members at that meeting. And they were able to hear their concerns and field those questions. Most of us have come to believe that this conversion is well on the way of happening. And I do think the things that remain unknown, namely the covenant agreement, what's the teeth in the covenant agreement, and how much protections do they offer the community, and also the makeup of the board to make certain that although private, there is representation to account for the concerns of residents across Lee County. But I do want to commend Dr. Antonucci because, as I said, this is my 4th one, and the consistency of the presentations, the transparency, and the job they did when they attended our forum. There was great appreciation for that, and we look forward to our follow-up dialogue.
Anyone further?
One more, sorry.
Please spell your name for the record.
Hello, Dr. David Marconi. Hey, Mike, it's nice to see you again. Been a while. I have a couple of concerns I wanted to just voice and put some questions out there to the board. Threefold: motive, cost, and safety net. I'm still not sure I completely understand the process as well as I'm sure you hopefully do, but I'm a little confused as to why we're looking at this whole conversion in the first place. I understand Tampa did it previously, and I wish I could understand a little better what the perceived benefit is for the board, for the hospital system, and the community. My second point is cost. Having worked for Lee previously and then gone outpatient, sorry about that, but ended up wanting to pave my own way. And I'm doing well at that so far. So in any case, what I've noticed in the meantime is that I have a harder and harder time referring patients back to Lee Health, mainly due to the existing cost of what services currently are. The hospital facility fees, the imaging fees, the lab fees, there's just a lot. There's a lot different world that I wasn't exposed to before, and it's a lot, in some cases, a lot more cost effective for patients to go outside of Lee. So I'm a little worried that if Lee Health has the ability to expand even further, I just want to make sure that we still maintain appropriate pricing for things and availability, not just to the underserved, but to everybody else who is like moderately served. And then the last one is the safety net, which is the underserved population. I'm a little concerned there. I would really like to see how you would put into play a guarantee of maintaining the covenant that Lee Health has right now, because it's a lot of statements that are kind of ambiguous and vague on we're going to maintain it, we're going to maintain it, but the reality is the only thing maintaining it now is that there's a law stating you have to maintain it. And what's to say that if something changes and someone else comes in and says Lee Health looks very appetizing and they don't want to maintain, taking care of the safety net of the community of Lee Health, or of Lee County. Just want to be the 11th man and ask that question.
Would anyone else like to make a public comment? With that, I would like, on behalf of the board, to express our sincere appreciation for y'all taking your valuable time out of your daily lives to come express your opinions. We will take them the board will take them into consideration. And once again, thank you so much for attending.